This is News Talk.
Now then, you're welcome along to tonight's show. Andy Lee in studio, 7:30. We are talking about Vasily Lomachenko, the best boxer on the planet right now, and for quite some time at this stage. He fights Luke Campbell in London this Saturday. Andy Lee is a big fan of this man. He'll tell us why. Wednesday Night Rugby, where the worrying will continue. Rory O'Connor and Andy Dunn in studio. We have Cardiff to come. Just what they need after Twickenham. And then the football show includes Miguel Delaney on the future for, well, League One and League Two sides in particular. It's not good. Miguel did a piece back in May, which has aged very well, you would have to say. Not good news if you're League One or League Two club, but some well-sourced people telling them up to 75% of these clubs could go in the next 5 to 7 years. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Dan McDonnell in studio as well. Hello.
Hi, Joe.
I know you've much to say about the Bury-Bolton situation. The Bolton situation is somewhat improved. The Bury one, fatal, really.
Grim. Oh, it's
very grim, yeah.
It shouldn't happen.
And Will's here as well. How you doing?
Evening, lads.
So, a busy show. Are you overly familiar with Vasily Lomachenko?
I'm not, you know.
No one is, you see.
And that's the genius of the piece. I'm not a boxing fan, but I don't dislike boxing. You know, I feel like I should know who the big star of the day is. You hear about a lot of other people, but not necessarily about him.
Here's why you'd be forgiven somewhat. He's still only 30. Well, he's 31 years of age, so he's been around a long time. But he's only fighting professionally for the 15th time. Now, what he has done in those 15 fights is pretty impressive in that he has become world champion at 3 different weight divisions.
Yeah.
Yes. So it only took him 12 fights to become world champion at featherweight, super featherweight and lightweight. Now he's fighting Luke Campbell, who won a gold for Team GB in 2012. He's fighting him for the vacant WBC lightweight title this Saturday. He already has 2 other belts at lightweight, and he will eventually win the 4th one when he gets around to it. There's Richard Comey from Ghana who has the IBF one. So we expect Lomachenko to beat Luke Campbell. Should be an okay fight. Andy will give us his take, I'm sure. And then win the 4th one. And after that, he's not too sure what he's going to do because he's only 5'7". So even Campbell, who he's fighting at the weekend, is taller than him, has 6 inches on him in terms of reach. So he'd really be pushing it to go to a 4th division. And he did say himself that I want to hunt, I want to fish every day, and I can't do this because I have to train. So my motivation is to win the 4 titles at lightweight. After that, I don't know what happens.
Did you see his interview on Sky Sports News last week?
No.
They doorstepped him in a canoe. So he was on the river. And what happened is, as you can imagine, the kind of, the little wooden platform that's there at the edge of the river that you see at kind of variable points. The interviewer from Sky Sports News had to lie down with a wireless microphone, and Lomachenko was in the boat, and he did a very brief interview while he was in the canoe.
Yeah, there is a kind of trend of phenomenon of older journalists having to demean themselves to much younger athletes just to get a few glib comments, Dan. That's where we are.
Well, that's the business. This was a Sky interview, right? Yeah. Well, I think sort of ritual humiliation is also a part of the Sky beat. I mean, I hope they're suitably well reimbursed, but at times in your life you have to put yourself in positions that you just don't want to deal with. I don't know if you saw yesterday the bloke at Bolton. Was it Bolton? They've actually dealt with it very well, but like he's trying to deal with a pretty serious and grave news story.
Trying to broadcast.
Stop it. Trying to save your club. I'm trying to help here.
Trying to help your club.
But like it didn't help the image of, like, obviously there was people really suffering and heartbroken by the situation that the club was in. But there was also idiots who just wanted to be on the telly. I'd imagine people are really, really suffering are sort of wondering, are people like, you know, doing sad faces behind the report of what he spoke.
Yeah.
It sort of added to the sort of absurdity of the whole thing.
Yeah. I presume, I didn't watch all the coverage. I presume there was no deadline day excitement to be on TV. No.
There was a bit of a clock on it. They had a clock on it, yeah.
No, they've got a bit of grief for it, and Jim White's had to defend it because there was an element of, you know, minutes, hours until, you know, the deadline expires. So I was watching it when the Bury thing went, and it was almost like 11 o'clock. I think they might have taken down the clock at that stage.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the Big Ben going off on transfer, but it was cross enough.
But it was around 11 where they went, and now the news they don't want, and they go, let's go to Bury. It is like the transfer deadline day thing where at 11 o'clock, you know, let's go to the bloke at Stoke, you know, who says the deal fell through for Andy Carr at the last minute or something, except in this case it was your club is gone, and there were people behind. So they've got a bit of flack for how they dealt with it. Rolling news, it was a tough one to deal with, but maybe didn't kind of get the balance right.
It's been a while since Sky have risked rolling live broadcasting for hours on end outside football clubs with fans right behind them. There were no sex toys being waved or any issues with that.
Your man was almost as bad as the purple dildo, the guy in the red top who...
Could we not have left it at the jeopardy of the colour?
It's a pretty infamous clip at this stage. Like, I thought the guy at Bolton...
Joe left the illusion of possibility there.
I've gone through bluntly. It was almost as bad as that the guy at Bolton yesterday. Where, like, it was 2 or 3 times your man got into shot as well.
Yeah.
And I got right up beside him as well.
He's dead right to say, sod off. Like, we're trying to broadcast here. Will you go away?
Pretty serious subject matter.
It is, yeah. So Miguel will talk to us, and like I said, a really well-placed source in his piece reckoned 75% of League One, League Two clubs have no medium-term future, which is a stark statement.
It's a big call.
Big call,
Not so sure, but I mean, it's a big call.
Lomachenko chat coming your way 7:30. That canoe reference where you got to all ends, it reminds me at Carton House. A couple of years ago when the Irish Open was there, Rory McIlroy was doing a grouped press thing after his round, and he didn't have time to do TV, then radio, then one-on-ones, then various things. So they wanted to get like the TV version, and if you wanted to get any radio audio, you had to like kneel down or sit down in front of Rory McIlroy's crotch, effectively, and hold up your microphone.
Did you do it?
I just said I'm not. No, I said it's all right.
Even for a golfer.
I said
you have to draw the line somewhere.
Whatever he wants to say about his Thursday at the Irish Open, we can live without.
Have you ever had to angrily tell an audience to shush down at any point?
No, I don't think so.
Around live shows or anything like that? No. Would you get angry in that situation?
I do remember at Vicar Street, John Barnes was talking, as he does, like just amazingly eloquently about racism, and this was kind of before he had done it and gone viral a bunch of times on TV. It was just absolutely riveting. And I do remember in the midst of it, somebody shouted out, "Stick to football." I got a flash of anger kind of in the midst of all that. That it seemed like an odd response given that Barnes was so brilliant, But you're like, I don't know. John, forget all that.
Who's your favourite player?
Who's the toughest opponent you came up against?
God.
No, people are really good at the roadshows. Yeah, no, there's never any
Just want to listen.
I mean, doing the live broadcasting outside stadiums, that's a tough gig. The Sky Sports News, doing it with people around is...
I think they have to be very resilient to it. They just get used to it over time.
Yeah.
It's almost like you sign up for it as part of the thing.
Yeah.
You just have to tolerate what may come your way. I'd say they have like great parties reflecting on what happened to you. As I said, the sex toy bloke was probably the main storyteller. When it came to their next transfer debrief.
So Lomachenko chat 7:30. We have Rory O'Connor and Andy Dunn 8 o'clock, and then on the football show myself and Dan, and we'll be joined by Miguel as well. Now we'll touch on this in the football show. Some people saying, Will, it's your first story in the Newsround. This is pretty much as good an under-21 squad as we've named in the history of football in this country.
Yeah, look, it's pretty impressive. I mean, obviously you've got the two big names who've come in, and we probably know ahead of the senior team being named later this week now that Troy Parrott and Michael Obafemi won't be involved with the senior squad. Stephen Kenny's pretty much said as much today. It's ahead of the under-21 European qualifiers against Armenia and Sweden. You've got Troy Parrott in there. You've got the Southampton striker Michael Obafemi, Stoke defender Nathan Collins, Liverpool goalkeeper Caoimhín Kelleher, the Bournemouth midfielder Gavin Kilkenny, who incidentally plays in the EFL Cup tonight. Mark Travers also playing for Bournemouth, so plenty of Irish interest there. Very good with the under-19s this year. The new Celtic signing Jonathan Afolabi is in there, and there's some home players coming back in as well, like Danny Mandrew. You've got Darrell Lee from Bohemians in there as well, and UCD defender Liam Scales. So it's a very interesting squad.
The thing about this squad is the strikers. There's 5 strikers in the squad, 19 and under, all of whom have a significant buzz around them. There's Troy Parrott, who's obviously probably the talking horse as such in Irish football right now. There's Obafemi, who scored for Southampton last night. There's Aaron Connolly, who came in and scored for Brighton last night, his first start for Brighton, and he scored. There's Adam Ida, who started for Norwich in the League Cup last night, his first senior start, and there's Afolabi. So you've got 5 strikers there, all of whom are actually eligible at 21 level for 2 years in some cases. In the case of Troy Parrott, it's 4. And when you consider that the biggest talking point around Irish football really in the last decade has been replacing Robbie Keane's goals, where is the next player coming from? All of a sudden, you've got 5 young players there. Afolabi did very well in the under-19 finals, but if you were to say, Parrott, Connolly, Ida and Obafemi, you've got 4 players who are basically in Premier League squads or around Premier League squads. So that's pretty good. That is pretty good. And they're also all homegrown as well. I mean, they're all born in Ireland. Obafemi sort of grew up, I guess, in England, but the likes of Adam Ida, Troy Parrott, and who's the other one? I think Aaron Connolly. Like, they're all products of sort of the schoolboy system here, from Merview for Connolly, for Ringmatton with Adam Ida, and Troy Parrott Belvedere. So Afolabi also through Joseph's boys, and he actually played for a few different clubs. So it's really encouraging. There's good attacking midfielders in the group as well. So Stephen Kenny's clearly excited talking about it today, that maybe he's coming into things at the right time here, in every sense, that with a view to the senior squad as well, that like these players could just be peaking at just the right moment.
Timing is everything. Meanwhile, no talk of fans gathering to protest the next news item.
No, Alexis Sanchez is finally leaving Manchester United temporarily. He's heading off to Italy to complete a season-long loan to Inter. Sanchez will link up with former Manchester United teammate Romelu Lukaku at Antonio Conte's side. Interestingly, the deal won't include any option to buy next summer, and the Chile forward still has 3 years left in his contract with Manchester United. And depending on the reports you believe today, United may be stumping up to £200,000 a week for him to play for someone else.
This is desperation now on Manchester United's behalf. This is, please take him. Please put him in the shop window. Somebody, for the love of God, please buy him. We'll even pay his wages just for you to play this guy and hopefully get him off our books. That is the only read on this.
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, it's not unusual for clubs to loan out players and pay a bit of their wages or do whatever it takes. Like, that's a pretty standard thing to do. But like, this is just an extreme version of it because of the amount of money that's involved. That's what makes it so remarkable.
Alexis,
it's been such a spectacular failure that his contract almost made him unattainable.
Yeah, Alexis Sanchez has departed for Italy and said, obviously, given my wages, I'll be back in 12 months. I'll see everybody then.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to pack my locker up here.
No, just leave my parking space here, Ed, because I'm coming back.
I'll be back.
2 more years of this.
Unless, of course, you want to make me an offer that I can't refuse here.
There you go, Dan. So, live football this evening?
Yeah, EFL Cup, 7 games on tonight, Joe. Everton manager Marcus Silva is promising he's going to field a strong side for their game against Lincoln. Newcastle host Leicester, an all Premier League clash, probably the pick of tonight's games. Sunderland go to Burnley. Bournemouth, as you mentioned, take on Forest Green. Portsmouth go to QPR. Swansea face Cambridge, and Rotherham host Sheffield Wednesday.
You should mention Jeff Hendrick starts for Burnley. It's his first start of the season. So he got a few minutes on at the weekend for their game. So with the Ireland squad has been named tomorrow, the final 23-man squad is named tomorrow, and Hendrick would be one of the one of the concerns, one of the concerns he would have had. So at least hopefully get 90 minutes tonight.
We're talking about the financial issues in football later in the programme, but Steve Dale has called for the EFL to rescind its decision to expel Bury from the Football League. The club's owner says he has 2 buyers now lined up who want to take over the team. However, the EFL Executive Chair Debbie Jevons has been speaking today, and she insists they did everything possible to try and avoid expelling the team from the Football League.
You eventually get to the point, don't you, when you've got to make a decision. This is not a last-minute thing. This has been going on for a while, and there have been many opportunities for Mr. Dale to look at those offers, and he could have entered into negotiations with any entity over the past weeks.
Steve Dale's really departed as the pantomime villain here, hasn't he?
It's not even a pantomime villain, he's just a villain.
I saw his interview at 5 Live where basically he said, look, I've no need to ever go to Bury again. I either get my money back or the club's gone liquidated. He doesn't care.
Better news for Bolton, I think?
Yeah, it looks good in terms of just surviving at this stage, because they've secured a takeover just in the last hour or so, apparently, by Football Ventures Limited. Yesterday, the English Football League gave the administrators there 14 days to try and sell the team, or they would have been facing expulsion from the competition as well. It means, as things stand, Saturday's League One fixture against Gillingham is going to go ahead.
Okay. Andy in County Cavan says, it is somewhat ironic that Portsmouth, who went belly up and into administration on 2 separate occasions, are one of the few League 1, League 2 clubs financially viable and have a decent mid to long term future. It's a text into 53106.
They went for a fan-owned structure, effectively, Portsmouth. I mean, they had a massive fan base. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, Bury is a community club but didn't have an especially big fan base, whereas Portsmouth, it's always been a very well supported club.
Okay.
So when they went down the leagues, they were able to reform, and that effectively, that form of fan ownership, it helps when you can get 20,000 people or so in the gate.
Okay.
That starts things off, and that's propelled them back up to the point where they've attracted investment, and all of a sudden they're flying again. Okay.
Well, one of the interesting lines in Miguel's piece was that League 1 clubs need about 10,000 through the gate to survive, and League Two clubs need about 5,000 through the gate to survive. And based on attendances last season, 36 clubs were not hitting those standards, 18 in each division.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, there are some big clubs down there, like Portsmouth does spring to mind.
Yeah.
Sunderland are in League One. There'll be a couple of other teams down there. Even Rotherham are down there now. Like, who will get very good support. And even down to League Two, you've got Coventry have been yo-yoing between the two. So there are like some traditionally big clubs that will always have a chance. But then Bolton would have been in that bracket as well, and they've been pretty, they've been pretty close to the wire here. But yeah, you do look at. I always watch the EFL goals, and you see some of the grounds and some of the facilities, and Morecambe have been in trouble, and a few of these clubs, like they're not the big entities you might think.
Now, Will, on the rugby front, Jamie Heaslip has sounded a note of optimism.
Yeah, I think he's perhaps the most optimistic man in the country this week because he thinks that Ireland have been holding back in their recent World Cup warm-up games. Joe Schmidt's side won 29-10 in their opening game against Italy before suffering that record 42-point defeat to England at Twickenham last Saturday. Doesn't get any easier this weekend. Ireland travel to Cardiff to face the Grand Slam winners Wales. Sweeping changes expected in the Irish camp. Jack Carthy, Tadhg Byrne and Will Addison among those in line to start. Heaslip thinks the Ireland head coach Joe Schmidt hasn't been giving away their tactical plans ahead of the tournament in Japan.
It'd be really interesting to see what evolution we see. You said like there hasn't been a lot of box kicking. They've kept the ball in play a lot. Maybe they're getting used to trying to force that, because teams are doing that a lot to Ireland. They're not allowing them have the platform that they usually have had in the past. But it's such a fine blend, because I'm sure they've been working on things throughout the summer, in Carton House or in Portugal, but they can't show their whole hand. I mean, even when you get past, the Scotland game and Japan game, you still got two more games in your group, then you got a quarters, a semi, you know what I mean? You can't show everything straight away. And knowing Joe, I'm sure he has a repertoire of moves that they have banked during the summer, and he's given them game sheets with the moves that they're using for that week, and holding back a lot of information. But then at the same time, a really good thing that Joe's done throughout the years is doing moves that look similar but tweaking them at different times to expose different opportunities in teams.
Yeah, so a bit of optimism there. To be fair, he wasn't just waving the flag and saying it's all great for the whole video either. You can watch the full thing. He certainly didn't think it was brilliant on Saturday. Gordon Darcy, by the way, also on OTBAM this morning. He had some pretty interesting things to say about Jordan Larmour being on the wing specifically.
He's a phenomenal 15, and every time he plays 15 he looks composed and he looks dangerous. When he plays in the wing, I don't think you could say you wouldn't use that same description about him. I think he looks a little bit lost on the wing and backs his pace, and that's not always a good. At lower levels, you could potentially get away with that, the defending style of things. But I do know the Irish team defend in a very, very specific way, and you need to be comfortable with it. And it doesn't look like he is. And then, if you're going to say he's going to be the utility spot, I think Andrew Conway is further along there and probably deserves a shot.
Both Jamie Heaslip and Gordon Darcy, of course, speaking on OTBAM. That's our sports breakfast show every weekday morning from 7:45. You'll find them on offtheball.com, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook. You can start your day with Off the Ball. See our social channels for the full broadcast details there.
And you can watch the full interview tomorrow on OTBAM, where the guys will be giving you a chance to win a home entertainment system, no less than, all this week with thanks to Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical. Now, where are we going?
Well, Felix Jones is going to South Africa, Joe. The former Ireland international is part of the coaching team for the Springboks ahead of the World Cup. He's agreed a short-term consultancy role and will be reunited with former Munster Director of Rugby and now Springboks head coach Rassie Erasmus. Erasmus says the former fullback will bring a fresh eye to their analysis of opposition teams ahead of the tournament in Japan, but he says he's not joining as a straight like-for-like replacement as an attacks coach. He'll be more focusing on breaking down the opposition ahead of games. Snida Puspor has moved a step closer to securing a place at next summer's Olympics as well. The reigning champion has eased into the women's single sculls semi-finals at the World Rowing Championships by winning her quarter-final. Puspor needs to finish in the top 9 overall at the end of the week to book a place at the Tokyo Games, and she looks very well placed to do so. It was a mixed day as well for the Irish boxing team at the European Women's Championships in Madrid. Dundalk's Amy Broadhurst upset the odds to defeat former world champion Anastasia Belikova in their lightweight quarter-final. She's assured now of at least a bronze medal, but Cork welterweight Christina Desmond lost her quarter-final on a split decision, and that means her campaign has come to an end. Hockey, Alexander Cox has stepped down as the head coach of the Irish men's hockey team following their relegation at the European Championships. The Dutchman had only been in charge for a year. He says he's resigned in order to allow Ireland to have a new coach in place ahead of the upcoming Olympic qualifiers, which start in October. The leader's red jersey has been surrendered by Nicholas Roach today. He has slipped down to 5th place and is 1 minute and 30 seconds now behind the new leader, Miguel Angel Lopez, who led after the first stage. Roach had held the jersey between 2 and 5. That's after the first of the mountain stages today. They've got another 198-kilometre climb tomorrow. Brendan Rice has been appointed the referee for next month's All-Ireland Ladies Football Final between Galway and Dublin. It's the second time the Down official has taken charge of the decider. He was also the man in the middle for the 2016 final between Dublin and Cork. And the tennis continues at the US Open this evening. Novak Djokovic is the big draw today. He continues his pursuit of a 17th Grand Slam title. The top seed will face Juan Ignacio Londero. It'll start at around midnight Irish time in the second round of the US Open. Also on court later on, Roger Federer and Serena Williams as well, Joe.
Lovely stuff, Will. Thanks very much for that. Now, we're just a week away from Roy Keane, Gary Neville at our Premier League Roadshow at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre on September 4th in association with Cadbury. Completely sold out. We're giving you chances to win tickets all week. To win a pair this evening, just identify our mystery voice who's already thinking of excuses for choosing to skip the Dadcast for DJ Kev Kilban at Electric Picnic.
I just went on a feeling, and I'm still standing by that. You know, that is what I did.
Oh, that is tough.
That is a challenge.
I just went on a feeling, and I'm still standing by that. You know, that is what I did.
What say just pick that? That's impossible. I know who it is because it says, but...
Oh, that's tough.
That's so tough.
Could be Dutch, could be South African, could be...
Tougher than dumping the Dadcast for DJ kind of.
Yeah.
Well, considering they're on separate times and you don't have to.
Right, but,
I mean, it was an illogical premise. I didn't like that. That bugged me. The Dadcast is on
you read
around
it
1.
out, Joe. You read it out.
I just had to stick to the script at this stage. The Dadcast is on at 1, I think. Kilban is on at 9 or 10. One more time. It's very tough, like, because there's a big prize at stake here.
I just went on a feeling, and I'm still standing by that. You know, that is what I did.
It's tough.
I think we'll have to start giving hints there, won't we? Who picked that? Did you pick that? Enda? Unbelievable.
Someone related to him or something.
Is he from Donegal?
Knows the voice very well.
That is just so tough. Okay, text your name and answer. If you know who that is, and your name's not Enda, who picked it. 53106 for 30 cents. We'll announce the winner later on in the show. If people are really struggling, we'll start giving a hint or two. It's our Roy Keane, Gary Neville Premier League Roadshow with thanks to Cadbury happening September 4th at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre. Pete, give it to us one more time.
I just went on a feeling, and I'm still standing by that. You know, that is what I did.
Good luck.
Oh, I think I might have it now.
Yeah.
But I needed it on the fourth go.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I'm not going to say it, that defeats the whole purpose.
No, fine. Short break. We've got the very brilliant Andy Lee in studio next, telling us about Vasily Lomachenko.
Off the ball on News Talk.
Logically, you know Cube kitchens are expertly designed and fitted. Practically, you know they've got all the clever storage ideas you could wish for. Reassuringly, you know Cube have over 50 years experience, but that's not why you want one. Cube kitchens just look so overwhelmingly, irresistibly amazing. See our full kitchen wardrobe and furniture range, including Caligaris in Dublin and Cork, or online at cubekitchens.ie, or call to arrange a free consultation. Be kitchen proud with Cube.
Take a moment to relax and enjoy summer at Easy Living Interiors.